Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Big Dance with our special guest, Jaden Daly of a Daily Dose of Hoops on Twitter. How are you, Jaden?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. Okay, big game tonight. Iona Manhattan. I know you're excited. Who is winning this game?
I could see it going either way, and I'll start off with that. Iona's rolling, big road wins against Monmouth and Siena. They're going to try and cap off 3 for 3 on the road trip before they host Canisius on Sunday. AJ English is making a statement saying that Justin Robinson's not the clear-cut player of the year. Back-to-back 30-point games. And then on the other side, Manhattan's got a sellout crowd tonight at Dratty,
Yep.
playing for Senior Night with Shane Richards and Rashawn Soares. They're going to be pumped up, and they're going to be looking to come out and make a statement after they got ran off their own floor by St. Peter's on Tuesday. It's going to be close. It usually is in games like this, but at the end of the day, I have Iona winning a close one.
I like to hear that. It's Matt right now, Jaden. Right now, we have Monmouth at the 1, has the bye, Iona 2, Siena 3, Fairfield 4, St. Peter's 5. They all locked up buys. Is there any chance that Fairfield is taking over the 3 seed from Siena?
They can, Matt. They have to win tomorrow, and then they have to hope Siena loses on their home floor to Quinnipiac on
Right.
Sunday, which isn't favorable if you look at the numbers, but it could definitely happen, and then Fairfield would get it outright. But if there is a three-way tie, St. Peter's could even sneak into the third spot.
Right.
If they beat Fairfield and get a Siena loss, then they'd all be 12-8. Fairfield's got a shot at the 3, but the way I see it playing out, I think Siena wins Sunday and takes it
Yeah.
outright.
Yeah,
And then Fairfield and St. Peter's will play each other again in the 4-5 game.
Fairfield's hot right now. Was that 6 straight they got in a row? The hottest team in the conference?
Yeah, they've been playing really well, especially toward the end. Sidney Johnson's not getting enough credit for how much he's turned this
Absolutely.
program around. Marcus Gilbert's a first-team player. Tyler Nelson might even be a first-team All-MAC player. He's made a big jump freshman to sophomore. They have two shooters off the bench, and Curtis Cobb and Jerry Johnson Jr. that can knock down threes at any given time. It kind of reminds me of how Iona's team was set up last year with AJ and Isaiah and even Kelvin Amayo knocking down some threes with Cedric
Right.
Casimir.
Right.
They have so many gifted shooters to where it could cause a problem for anybody in the MAC tournament. And if they end up in the 4-5 and they get Monmouth in the semis on Sunday, watch out.
That sounds good to me. I hope they get Monmouth, and I hope they beat them.
I think a lot of people up there do.
Oh yeah. Looking at the 6 through 11, Manhattan, Canisius, Ryder, Quinnipiac, Niagara, Marist. Any of those teams you think that can knock off, even up to Monmouth, before they even get to the semis?
Don't put anything past Canisius. When they shoot the lights out like they did against Monmouth in December, all bets are off. They shoot the 3 pretty well. They haven't in recent games. But if they can get past Quinnipiac, and Quinnipiac just given Monmouth fits too in the past,
Yeah.
the winner of that 8-9 game, if it is those two, Ryder can still drop down to the 8. I think Manhattan can also drop down to the 8 seed too, but that would require Ryder and Canisius winning over the weekend, and then Iona somehow running the table to pass Monmouth.
Right.
But whoever wins that 8-9 game, don't count out the possibility of Monmouth getting a stern test right out of the gate. So
I agree.
It's definitely possible that the 8-9 can make some noise, and the 11 seed has won both matchups over the 6 since the match expanded to 11 teams. Niagara beat Marist, and then Marist beat Quinnipiac last year. And the way Manhattan's been playing, you never want to count out Massiello and his guys.
Oh, not at tourney time. No.
Definitely not. If the last couple of years are any indication, but
Right.
the way it's shaped up, and Marist had a big win over Ryder. You never know.
Yeah, I just want to go talk about tournaments still. Monmouth. We all know Iona and Manhattan have really been the two teams in the conference these past couple of years that are like, if you want to go take down a big guy, those are the two. But even though Monmouth hasn't won anything in terms of a tournament yet, does it feel like Iona and Manhattan haven't given up to Monmouth being the team that everybody's been talking about because Monmouth's been getting all this attention from their bench, beating UCLA, Notre Dame when Notre Dame was 17, I think. Do you think it's harder for Monmouth to kind of grind through this tournament on top of the fact that Sienna's hosting it again, technically?
Absolutely, it is. And you look at how Monmouth has played the last few games, plus Deion Jones going down.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned this on Twitter and then in a post-game piece after Iona's win Friday. The loss of Deion Jones could be the same effect as what happened to Ryder last year when Matt Lopez tore his
Yeah.
ACL. They were not the same team after Lopez went down. And then in their first game in the tournament, they lost to St. Peter's in a 9-point game where the score was close and the game led on. St. Peter's pretty much ran Ryder off the floor. You don't want to see that happen to Monmouth if you're looking at it from the big picture for the league, where you have this team with six wins over Power 5 schools, plus all the at-large talk. A loss in the quarters would basically kill all of that.
Yeah, I thought it took a big hit once they lost to Iona at home. As great as a win as it was, beating Iona here and ending the big streak, I think they lost to Manhattan once too out of one of the two matchups.
They did on
Yeah,
the road.
and as good as Manhattan is in conference, they have a losing record overall, and I personally don't see how they could last any. They can't afford to lose any more games at all if they even think about sniffing at large bid.
Well, if they get to the championship game and they lose Monday night, it's still in the conversation,
Yeah.
and you'd be really hard pressed to try and keep them out.
Yeah,
The
I
loss
think
to Iona, I thought, put a major dent in the at-large hopes, but as
Mhm.
it turned out, plus with Iona coming back and scoring the win over Siena Monday night, it's not as bad a loss as you might think it is. It's not as bad a loss as the loss to Canisius in December or the loss
Mhm.
on the road at Army right before New Year's.
Yeah.
right.
So it didn't do Monmouth as much harm as people may have expected initially. But if you're Kane Rice and if you're anyone in the Monmouth camp, you're thinking you got to win 3. You're not even worried about getting to Monday and losing and then waiting it out on the bubble. You want to win the whole thing.
Also, one more thing too, because the MAAC tournament plays earlier than most of the tournaments in the country. So when Monmouth loses in that final game, there's a bunch of teams that are up for grabs for an at-large bid that are looking like, hey, Monmouth just tripped. We got to jump on at least a couple of games in our major conference, and who knows, maybe we get the bid over they do, too.
Yeah, and then that's that. Iona got burned by that a couple of years ago when they got to the second championship of the 3 in a row
Right.
and lost to Manhattan by 3. Masiello
Mhm.
made the case that Iona was a tournament team for the last 3 weeks of the regular season, and after that, and Iona was just done in by a weak bubble
Yeah.
where they couldn't make enough gains on some of the other major teams, and that same thing could happen to Monmouth depending on how it all shakes out.
Do you think it has to do with a lack of a tournament win for the MAC in a few years? Because we could look at other conferences where they've had teams from mid majors that have gone on to win a game or two in the conference, and they're more respected regardless of whatever their out of conference schedule was.
I don't think it has that much of a factor to play in there, even though it's been 6 to 7 years since the MAC won a game in the tournament. You got to
Right.
go back to those great Siena teams of the late 2000s, the one that almost got to the Sweet 16. But I think it's more conference RPI. The MAC is usually in the high to mid 20s among the 32 conferences, so that plays a factor in seeding and maybe a lack of respect, so to speak, among the committee, which is why you don't normally see teams in the MAC get anything higher than the 14 unless they're exceptional, like those Siena teams were,
Right.
and like Manhattan was a couple of years ago when they were a 13 seed.
Right.
So it really depends on what you do in your league, what you do outside your league, and the extenuating circumstances around you. Monmouth's navigated that really well. Their RPI is 45 right now, which puts them firmly in the mix for an at-large, even if they don't get it done.
Jaden, I want to transition over a little bit to individually AJ and Justin Robinson. Your pick for Player of the Year. I mean, I would assume it's between those two, unless you have another.
No,
Being maybe.
it is those two, and it's going to be whoever wins the league.
Okay.
If Monmouth wins the regular season, it's Robinson. If they somehow collapse this weekend and Iona beats Manhattan and Canisius, you got to give it to A.J. English with the way he's played lately. Both of them are first-team All-MAAC. Both of them will be first-team All-Met when those awards come out in April. King Rice will be the coach of the year because he's done enough with this team right now at 15-3 in the league to win that award comfortably. I think his closest competition would be John Dunn at St. Peter's, who's won 11 games in the league with a team picked to finish ninth. So as far as player of the year, it'll be between Justin and AJ, and whoever wins the league would be my vote.
Do you see AJ getting drafted, and if so, where about?
That's still too early to tell.
Yeah.
You don't know who's gonna work out for who, and what overseas prospects are coming out to where teams will try to stash some picks. I thought Scott Machado was going to be a surefire NBA draft pick, and it never panned out. He got a couple of 10-day contracts and got bounced around for a year or two. I think A.J. English could go middle to late second round with all the right breaks, but you really can't forecast that with so many other factors in the draft. If he does, obviously, it's great for Iona, it's great for the MAAC, it's great for mid-major college basketball, but it's really still too early to tell.
All right, Jaden, I got one more question for you before we'll let you go to get ready for tonight. Mazziello and Cluse, is it their final matchup, you think?
It depends on what Manhattan does with Mazziello in the offseason. His contract has been the subject of some debate and some attention, where he's in the final year and he hasn't gotten the extension yet. So we don't know what's going to happen. There might be a mid-major opening right now between, or even some of the high majors. Rutgers might get rid of Eddie Jordan, and Pat Hobbs, the athletic director there, could look at a guy like Mazziello, who's won 2 conference championships and is doing a remarkable job, all things considered, this season, playing 7 or 8 guys all year with a lack of depth and still winning 9 games in conference. I don't know, and he's got a verbal commitment from Aaron Walker, the guard from Cardozo, for next year. He's well positioned for next season. I do think he stays at Manhattan ultimately, even if it's just for another year or two, and this rivalry will continue on.
Yeah, it's certainly been a great rivalry. We can't wait to continue it tonight in Draddy. Thanks, Jaden, for calling in. We really appreciate it. We're going to keep retweeting your stuff. Don't worry.
No problem. Love you guys. See you
All
later
right,
tonight.
thanks, man. Have a great night. All right.
You too.
All right, that was a nice segment with Jaden. Great insight for all things MAAC Hoops. You a little surprised he chose Iona?
No,
even
I'm
on
not.
Senior night against Manhattan?
I'm not. Jaden's a smart guy. Jaden knows how the league has been going the last few years. He knows that Manhattan is not what they were
the past
2
couple years. Yeah,
and you can't hide the fact Senior night's a big thing, and for us it might be different crowd. It depends, but
I don't know.
I think he strongly thinks that we're that much better right now, and we have the hot streak going in. They're playing real poorly.
It could be a trap game. I think this
course.
one.
You're looking ahead. You're looking ahead to the tournament.
A Senior night against your rival. I think this one's going to be within 5 points. I still have Iona winning this one. It'll be like a 65 to a 59-ish game for me.
I can see it.
I think around there.
Yeah.
Both defenses are very Iona's improved on
better.
defense, but
Iona's had some.
But Manhattan's more of a talent thing. It's not an effort.
Right.
Right. So yeah, give me a score prediction, and then we'll be on our way.
I'd like to go Iona 72, Manhattan 66.
Okay. All right. Well, those are predictions tonight for Manhattan Iona. Thanks again to Jaden Daly on calling in to the show. Great stuff. This is the Big Dance. We'll be back.